It was a cloudy Tuesday in rural Ohio. The smell of fried chicken drifted from the small KFC off Route 58. Behind the counter, 27-year-old manager Maya Carter juggled a lunch rush, trained a new cashier, and fielded yet another late delivery call. From a supplier, locals knew Maya for her warm smile, but behind it lay unpaid bills, a younger brother in college, and a mother recovering from surgery. She didn't complain she couldn't afford to, but every day felt like a quiet battle. At 1:30 p.m., the store's double-glass doors swung open. Two men in dark suits stepped in, scanning the room. Behind them, unmistakably, was Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. The restaurant froze. Even the fryer's hiss seemed to stop. Maya blinked twice, wondering if exhaustion was playing tricks on her. But no, there he was, removing a red baseball cap and walking up to the counter. Customers began whispering, raising their phones to capture the moment. Trump smiled politely and ordered a bucket of original recipe chicken, mashed potatoes, and biscuits. Maya's hands trembled as she rang up the order. She had never met a president, let alone served one fried chicken. She handed him the receipt. Her mind wasn't on the man in front of her. It was on the folded note in her apron pocket. Written weeks earlier in a moment of exhaustion and desperation. It wasn't political, just a personal plea she had never planned to give anyone. But now, staring into the eyes of a man who could change lives with a signature, Maya felt an unexpected surge of courage. Her fingers brushed the crumpled paper. She realized this might be her only chance. It wasn't even about her. The note was about her employees, the high schoolers working for minimum wage, the single mother pulling double shifts, the elderly dishwasher whose Social Security check couldn't cover rent. It was simple, heartfelt, and personal. Sir, I'm not asking for money. I'm asking for attention, for people to notice the quiet struggles of those who work hard but can't get ahead. We keep smiling, but we're drowning. Now, as Trump handed her his credit card, Maya's heart pounded. She could slip the note in with the receipt, quietly, without saying a word. But what if it went straight into the trash? What if he never read it? A Secret Service agent stood a few feet away, eyes tracking every movement of her hands. Maya swallowed hard, forcing herself to appear calm. She printed the receipt, placed it carefully in the bag, and hesitated a beat too long. Everything okay? Trump asked, his tone casual. Yes, sir. It's making sure everything's perfect for you, she replied with a faint smile. But her other hand was tightening around the folded paper. For the next 2 minutes, her mind was a storm. She rang up 2 more customers while Trump stepped aside to wait for his order, glancing at him every few seconds, afraid she had missed her chance. Her assistant manager, Sam, noticed her distraction. You okay? Whispered. Maya nodded. Quickly, but inside, her thoughts raced. What's the worst that could happen? He says no. He ignores me. When she saw Trump pick up his bucket of chicken and head for the door, her chest tightened. This is it. Now or never, Mr. President. She called, louder than she intended. The restaurant went silent. Trump stopped mid-step and raised his eyebrows in surprise. Maya stepped out from behind the counter. It wasn't even about her. The note was about her employees, the high school kids working for minimum wage, a single mother pulling double shifts, the elderly dishwasher whose Social Security check barely covered rent. It was simple, heartfelt, and personal. Sir, I'm not asking for money. I'm asking for attention, for people to notice the quiet struggles of those who work hard but can't get ahead. We keep smiling, but we're drowning. As Trump handed her his credit card, Maya's heart pounded. She could slip the note in with the receipt without saying a word, but what if it went straight into the trash? What if he never read it? A Secret Service agent's eyes tracked every movement of her hands. Maya swallowed hard and forced herself to act normal. She printed the receipt, placed it in the bag, and hesitated a beat too long. Everything okay? Trump asked casually. Yes, sir. Just making sure everything's perfect for you, she replied, managing a faint smile. But her other hand was tightening around the folded paper. For the next 2 minutes, her mind was a storm. She rang up 2 more customers while Trump stepped aside to wait for his order, glancing at him every few seconds, afraid she'd missed her chance. Her assistant manager, Sam, noticed her distraction. You okay? Maya nodded. Quickly, But inside, her thoughts raced. What's the worst that could happen? He says no. He ignores me. When she saw Trump pick up his bucket of chicken and head for the door, her chest tightened. This is it. Now or never, Mr. President. She called out, louder than she intended. The restaurant went silent. Trump stopped mid-step, eyebrows raised. Maya stepped out from behind the counter, holding the note as if it were something fragile. I know you're busy, she began, her voice trembling, but I wrote something. It's important to me, and to a lot of people I work with. The agents tensed, but Trump held up a hand, signaling them to wait. He took the note without hesitation. I'll read it, he said simply, giving her a nod before walking out. Maya stood, frozen, unsure. If she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life, for the most important decision she'd ever make. That night, she couldn't sleep. Every sound from the street made her imagine a black SUV pulling up, men in suits asking questions. What if the note sounded rude? What if it seemed unprofessional? She replayed her words over and over in her head, wishing she could have explained more. Meanwhile, the internet had already moved faster than her doubts. A customer's video of her handing Trump the note had gone viral on news sites, TikTok, Twitter. The comment sections buzzed with curiosity and speculation. At 1 a.m., Sam texted, "You're all over the internet, you okay?" She replied, "I don't know yet." The next morning, her mom, still recovering from surgery, called Maya, "Honey, did you just talk to the president yesterday?" "Yeah, Mom." Well, her mom chuckled. "Make sure you tell him to fix the price of gas while he's at it." Maya laughed weakly, but deep down she knew this was about more than gas prices. It was about the invisible lives of people who kept showing up, working hard, and barely hanging on. Still, she had no idea. If Trump had even opened the note 2 days later while doing inventory in the storage room, her phone buzzed. The caller ID read Washington, D.C. Her hand shook as she answered. "Hello," a deep official voice responded. "Miss Carter, this is Mark Delaney, Special Assistant to the President. The President read your note. He'd like to meet with you." Maya's breath caught. Are you sure you have the right person?" "Yes, ma'am. We'll send transportation tomorrow morning. The President would like to visit your KFC personally." She was speechless. "Wait, here? Why here?" "Because," he said, "if I'm going to talk about her note, I'm going to see her world." She hung up in a daze. Sam nearly dropped a box of fries when she told him, "Maya, this is insane. Do you know what this could mean?" She thought she did, but she also knew the pressure that came with it. By morning, the store had to be spotless in. She had to find the courage to explain her note face to face. The next day, black SUVs rolled into the parking lot, drawing a small crowd. Secret Service agents took positions around the building. Then Trump walked in, smiling as if stepping into a friend's kitchen. "Maya." He greeted warmly, extending his hand. She shook it, still in disbelief. "You've got a good place here," he said, glancing around. "Smells great." He sat in a booth, cameras flashing in the distance. Trump pulled the folded note from his pocket. "I've been carrying this since Tuesday," he said. "You didn't just write a complaint, you told a story." Maya's throat tightened. "It's not just my story. It's my team's. People think we're fine because we have jobs. But between rent, medical bills, and debt, a paycheck disappears fast." Trump listened, asking about wages, hours, benefits. Maya spoke with surprising confidence, realizing her years of listening to her staff had prepared her for this moment. Before leaving, Trump asked, "Can I come back tomorrow without the cameras?" She blinked. "Sure, but why?" "Because I want to meet everyone here properly." The next day, Trump returned no media, no fanfare, just him and a few aides. He went behind the counter, shaking hands with every employee. He met Linda, a 52-year-old grandmother working the fry station to support her grandkids. He met Carlos, a teenager saving for college. He met Mr. Bennett, the 68-year-old dishwasher who still took the bus to work every day. He asked each of them about their lives, not just their jobs. Maya watched her team open up in a way she'd never seen before. At one point, Linda said quietly, "I've worked here for 8 years. Never thought I'd talk to a president. I just want people to know we're not lazy. We're just trying." "To survive?" Trump nodded. "I hear you loud and clear." This wasn't just a polite visit. He was absorbing everything when he left that day. Turned to Maya. "I can't promise miracles, but I can promise I won't forget what I've seen here." Within a week, rumors swirled. Customers whispered about possible changes to KFC nationwide and a government program for food service workers. Maya didn't know what to believe. She hadn't heard directly from Trump since his visit, and she feared it had all been a kind gesture with no follow-up. Then one Friday morning, a letter arrived addressed to her in elegant handwriting. She opened it with trembling hands. "Maya, your note reminded me that real change starts with listening. I'm working on something that might help not just your store, but thousands like it. Keep doing what you're doing. I'll be in touch. Donald." J. Trump. Her chest swelled with a strange mix of pride and pressure. Whatever was coming, she had been the spark. 3 weeks later, at a small-town rally, Trump stood at a podium. To everyone's surprise, he called Maya up to stand beside him. "This," he told the crowd, "is Maya Carter. She manages a small KFC in Ohio. She handed me a note not to ask for herself, but for the people she works with, and I listened." Trump said, gesturing toward her. "And she wrote me a note that made me stop and think. She reminded me of something we often forget, that the people who keep America running aren't just in big offices. They're right here, wearing aprons, standing over hot fryers, smiling at customers while quietly carrying heavy burdens." The crowd erupted in cheers. Maya felt her cheeks flush. Then Trump announced a new pilot program. Expanded health care. Benefits and tax credits for small business employees in the food service industry. It wasn't everything Maya had dreamed of, but it was a start. Not everyone was happy. Some accused her of seeking fame. Others claimed the entire thing was staged. The internet can be cruel, and the comments sometimes stung more than she wanted to admit, but when she considered tuning it all out, Linda reminded her, "You didn't do this for them. You did this for us." Her team stood by her, and the local community rallied to her side. One night, after closing, the store was quiet except for the steady hum of the refrigerator. Maya was counting the register when she noticed Mr. Bennett, the elderly dishwasher, lingering by the counter instead of heading home. "Maya," he said softly, "I wanted to tell you something." He set down his worn baseball cap, his voice trembling slightly. "Because of that program the president announced, I finally went to the doctor for the first time in years." Maya stopped counting, concerned. "They told me my blood pressure was dangerously high. If I'd kept going the way I was, I might not have been here much longer. Now I'm on medication I can afford." Her throat tightened. "Mr. Bennett, that's incredible. I'm so glad you went." He smiled faintly, eyes glistening. "You didn't just help me get a doctor's visit. You gave me more time with my grandkids. That note you wrote, it might have saved my life." When he left, Maya sat alone in the quiet. Her heart felt heavier, and yet fuller than ever before. Before that moment, Maya hadn't fully realized it. This had never been about politics. It was about people. It was a cold December afternoon when she heard the familiar rumble of black SUVs pulling up outside the store. She wasn't expecting anyone, but when the doors swung open, there he was, Donald Trump, wearing his signature. Red cap and a broad smile. "Thought I'd stop by," he said casually, as though dropping in on an old friend. Customers stared in shock, whispering to one another, but Trump waved off the cameras. "Not today. Today I'm here for something else." He reached into a leather folder and pulled out a frame. Inside, perfectly preserved, was her original handwritten note. "You gave me this," he said, "and I've kept it close ever since. I want you to have this copy so you remember that one voice can matter." Maya took it carefully, feeling the weight of the glass and the words inside. She didn't know what to say, so she simply nodded, her eyes shimmering. Before leaving, he leaned in slightly and said, "Keep speaking up. People are listening now." As the door closed behind him, Maya looked down at the frame again. It was a reminder that her courage on that one random afternoon had become something far bigger than herself. A few weeks after Trump's unexpected visit, Maya received a call from KFC's corporate headquarters. At first, she thought it was about a new promotional campaign, but the voice on the line made her stop mid-step. "Maya, we've been following your story and your leadership," the HR representative began. "We'd like to offer you a regional manager position." Her heart skipped a beat. It was the kind of offer she had never imagined: higher salary, full benefits, and the chance to oversee multiple stores. But it also meant leaving behind her teen. That evening, she paced her small apartment, torn. How could she walk away from Linda, Carlos, and Mr. Bennett? But then she thought about how many more teams she could help if she accepted. The next day, she told Linda, half expecting disappointment. Instead, Linda grinned and hugged her tightly. "Go, Maya. You've already made this place better. Now, do it for others." The decision was still bittersweet, but in her gut, she knew Linda was right. Change didn't have to stop at one store. The transition was overwhelming at first. As regional manager, Maya now traveled between a dozen KFC locations across Ohio. Each store had its own challenges: outdated equipment, understaffed shifts, and employees juggling multiple jobs just to make ends meet. But Maya brought something into every conversation that numbers and charts couldn't measure: empathy. She didn't just ask about sales targets. She asked about people's lives. "How's your mom doing after surgery? Did you manage to get that car fixed?" At one store, a young shift leader named Tanya admitted she was thinking about quitting because she couldn't afford her child's daycare instead of brushing it off. Maya connected Tanya with a local assistance program. Tanya decided to stay, and her store's morale improved almost overnight. Maya began sending monthly reports to corporate, not just about profits, but about the real stories behind the uniforms. Quietly, she also sent occasional letters to the White House, updating them on how the program Trump had announced was actually working. Each time she hit send, she thought about that first folded note she had carried in her apron. One morning, after a long week of store visits, Maya returned to her small office to find an envelope with the presidential seal. Her hands trembled. As she opened it, inside was a handwritten note. "Maya, you reminded me that leadership is listening. The changes we started are helping, but we still have work to do. We keep telling me what you see on the ground. Your voice matters. Donald J. Trump." Maya read it 3 times, hardly believing it was real. This wasn't just a thank you. It was an invitation to keep pushing. She pinned the letter beside the framed note on her wall. Together, they told a story not of fame or politics, but of persistence. Maya decided she didn't want to be the only one carrying the torch. She started a mentorship program for young store managers across her region. Once a month, they gathered for coffee, no corporate jargon, just honest conversation. They shared struggles, swapped ideas, and brainstormed ways to support their teams. "Remember," Maya told them, "it's not just about chicken. It's about people. Numbers keep the lights on, but people keep the doors open." She encouraged each manager to send their own note, whether to corporate, a local leader, or even the White House if they saw a problem worth fixing. 2 years after that first note, Trump visited Ohio for a rally. Maya hadn't expected to see him, but as he scanned the crowd, his eyes landed on her. "Maya Carter," he called into the microphone. The audience erupted in cheers. She walked up, heart pounding, and they exchanged a quick embrace. "You still speaking up?" he asked quietly. "Always," she replied with a smile. Later, in a quieter corner backstage, Trump said something that caught her off guard. "No, yours wasn't the only note I got that week," he said, "but it was the only one I couldn't stop thinking about." He explained that it wasn't just the words, it was the sincerity. Most letters ask for something big and flashy. Yours just asked me to notice. I realized then that it wasn't about the scale of the request, it was about the heart. Behind it, that night, Maya drove home under a sky scattered with stars. She thought about the first day she'd seen him walk into her store, about the trembling in her hands as she passed him that folded piece of paper. Back then, she hadn't known if he'd ever read it. She knew it had started a ripple, not a tidal wave, but enough to touch lives. Mr. Bennett's, Linda's, Tanya's, and her own. Years later, Maya's framed note still hung in her office. Young employees would ask about it, and she would tell the story about courage, about listening, about the strange afternoon when the president walked into her store. But she always ended with the same words: you never know how far your voice can reach, but you'll never find out unless you use it. The moral was simple. Change doesn't always start with a podium or a crowd. Sometimes it starts with a quiet note slipped into a bag of chicken and the courage to hope someone will read it.